Hello everyone and welcome back. This is module 15 and this is Sesshin, or retreat in Japanese. The definition of a retreat is a period of intense meditation and practice. For those who are not familiar, a lot of people I think have heard of, yoga retreats and different spiritual retreats. Even people go on business retreats. The idea is to get away from your everyday life and routine, right? And kind of immerse yourself in that particular practice and environment. For me, this had a huge impact on my life and my practice. My Zen group decided to start going on retreat twice a year, probably 12, 15 years ago. And we started by going to Mount Baldy Zen Center for a 3-day retreat, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday retreat twice a year. This is actually where Leonard Cohen, the famous musician, wrote the song Hallelujah, which arguably I think is one of the greatest songs of all time. He wrote that up at Mount Baldy, and so Mount Baldy is a very special place to me. It was the first place that I was able to really go on retreat and sink deep into practice. And it's just such an incredible experience if obviously this is something that is of interest to you, and obviously I'm highly recommending it. It's a part of the program. But to be able to go away for 3 days and unplug from your cell phone and technology and be in nature, so you're getting an aspect of Shinrin Yoko and forest bathing, along with meditation, along with movement, along with oryoki and the mindful eating. It's combining a lot of what we've talked about is sort of all within the retreat. And so this is really where I came up with this entire program, is from being on retreat. Now, what I experienced on retreat did one of two things to me. When I started coming home from them, there would sometimes be a little bit of a letdown, and our group would talk about that when we would have our last meeting before everyone would go home, that this is pretty standard, that it's such a positive, powerful experience. Sometimes people can have a little bit of a letdown. And psychologically, that could be a little bit challenging. You kind of go back to your normal everyday life, and some people struggle with that a little bit. And so for me, I actually enjoyed retreat so much, and I said to myself, why does it have to be just a couple of times a year? Is there a way to actually do this throughout the whole year in a sustainable, healthy, balanced sort of way? And so that's when I had moved up to my little tiny house on the mountaintop in Topanga, and what encouraged my wife and I to move out to the desert. It's this idea that you're still within the world. I'm still in the business world. I'm creating courses. I'm in sales. My wife works full time, but you're still living a meditative lifestyle. You're sort of on retreat. And so that's what has inspired me to create this whole entire lifestyle, is from going on retreat. And things become really simplified. You meditate, you do yoga, you do meals and prayers, and you read and go to bed early. It's just a very simple lifestyle, but it doesn't have to be just once or twice a year or once or twice in a lifetime for some people. It can be something that we do every single day. And again, that was sort of the nature and the reason behind this entire course to begin with. And so I was incredibly moved by my experience. Now, obviously, it's not always easy, and it's not all roses, and peaches. A typical Zen retreat, I'm gonna go over the typical schedule in a couple of minutes here, but you're typically getting up at 5:30 in the morning, and you're doing half-hour rounds of zazen and meditation throughout the whole day until about 8:30 at night. It is broken up with yoga and meals and free time and bath time, talks even, but the majority of the retreat is focused on meditation. And so what comes with that? There's a lot of pain and discomfort that people experience. A lot of people experience pain with their knees and their lower backs, but then more than anything else, there's a lot of people struggle with the boredom inside their own head. And a funny thing that happens sometimes on retreats is sometimes people could get songs stuck in their head, and then they're sitting in meditation, and that 80s song from your childhood is just playing over and over and over again, and it's like a broken record. And it can be really challenging if you're in silent, still meditation and you just have the same repetitive thought or song continuing over and over in your head. you have to learn to sit with it until it lets go. The same thing with physical pain. And so a lot of people have experienced this, myself included. But if you're dealing with physical pain while on a retreat and meditating for hours on end, a lot of times your brain and mind and thoughts are sending messages to your body parts that you're in pain, that you're struggling, that you're miserable, that you're tired, you're hungry, you have to go to the bathroom. It's that mind-body connection, right? Well, strangely enough, if you are in deep enough meditation and finally you have that moment where you let go, that is the moment when a lot of times the pain leaves your body and the repetitive song that might have been playing also ends and ceases. The reason is because the ego, the thoughts want to hold on to something that is keeping you distracted and keeping you away from the task at hand, which is basically complete presence, complete mindfulness, complete enlightenment, if you will. And as long as you're having repetitive thoughts or pain, you really can't be fully present. The moment that it lets go, typically, from my experience, it's gone forever. And now you have the freedom to sit there with it. And that even goes for the physical pain. And that's why meditation, when it comes to physical pain, is really powerful. Because not to diminish people who have physical pain, I'm not doing that at all. I've broken my jaw. I've torn both of my ACLs. I have a father who's had over 35 operations and surgeries. I know that pain exists. But the connection between the brain and the body is real. And if we could turn off the mechanism that's sending all of those negative thoughts to our neurons, our pathways, and our senses, then we could actually be in a place where it's not affecting us. And another way that this happens is a lot of times people will be itchy while in meditation, and their natural inclinations to want to scratch the itch. If you can actually sit through it and not fidget and not touch and scratch yourself, you'll find that in most cases, the itch will leave. And it's pretty fascinating, so I recommend you give it a try. So as I mentioned, retreat is challenging. That's the whole point of it. A lot of the normal amenities are gone. There's been people who have wanted to bring up their own, hipster, modern, expensive coffee, and people who want Fritos and Ding Dongs and, Twinkies. The idea of retreats to let go of all of that. Also, the accommodations typically are pretty bare bones. You're letting go of that as well. Sometimes there's bunk beds and you're sleeping with multiple people in a cabin. The reason is we're letting go of our natural, normal, worldly amenities and we're focused on the practice. We're letting go of our ego and our expectations and we're submerging ourselves deeply into practice. And so this is a really powerful thing for anyone to do, to get away and to disconnect. So a typical Zen retreat, a lot of times, and I just took one from one of our regular ones, is wake up time at 5:15. I would normally be the one to wake everyone up. That was usually my role because I'm an early riser. So I would get up at 5, 15 minutes before everyone else. I would have to walk down to the main kitchen all the way down the path, probably 500 yards in complete cold and darkness. And I have to get a big giant gong. And I would go throughout the whole premise and bang this bell. And that was basically the wake-up call to wake everybody up in the morning. Then I would go back, hang the gong up, and then I would get started in the morning. The first Zazen session would be at 5:30. There would be Zazen, a morning service, and then you have a little bit of free time, and then breakfast is from 7 to 7:40. Right into a work period. So we talked about this in an earlier module, but Samo, dedicated 40-minute work period. You're typically chopping vegetables, you're raking leaves, you're sweeping, you're cleaning. And then right into a period of yoga, so movement meditation. Then back into Zazen, Kinhin Zazen, half hour, 10-minute walking meditation, half hour meditation. Then right into a lecture, or sometimes called a Dharma talk. And then into lunch at 12:30. 12:30, 1:10 is lunch. Then you have an hour of free time after lunch. Then a little bit of yoga, movement meditation, and then back into Zazen, Kinhin Zazen, again from 3:20 to 4:30. an hour and 10 minutes of deep meditation, then into another hour lecture, dinner from 5:40 to 6:20, then Zazen, Kinhin Zazen again from 6:30 to 7:40 at night. From 7:40 to 9 p.m. is free time and bath time. So you could take a shower and a bath. You could go up to the kitchen, and sometimes the monks would cook fresh cookies or have fruit out. You could also read and relax, and then lights out by 9 o'clock. And so what I have found is that this puts you on a natural circadian rhythm. This is something that I have stuck with throughout my years. I get up naturally between 5 and 5:30, and I'm in bed typically between 9 and 9:30. And this all started really from retreat. I've always been a little bit of someone who liked bedtime, but retreat really got me into this rhythm where you're sort of rising with the sun and you're going to bed, when it's setting. And again, you don't have to be super strict about this. I'm not encouraging people to not have a nightlife and to not socialize, but this schedule is a really streamlined, simple approach to life, but it's still touching on all the important aspects that we've covered throughout this program, right? Zazen, movement meditation, forest bathing, one-on-one dokusan interview, meals, cleanliness with feng shui. I mean, it's all within this schedule and this experience. So when you really think about it, this retreat schedule really includes my whole program and can include your entire life. So a lot to think about here. And then I'll just wrap up with, again, which I've been doing, right? Some of the problems with not having dedicated immersive practice where you kind of leave your daily life and go away. It can lead to burnout. That's a big one, right? A lot of people are experiencing burnout because they don't have a way to turn off, and get away. So this retreat is different than vacation. This is very different than vacation. I actually didn't take vacation for many years because every 6 months I would go on retreat, and that would recharge my battery. So this prevents burnout. People deal with stress, anxiety. There's decreased self-awareness and decreased enjoyment when you don't have dedicated immersive periods like this. The benefits of going on retreat are to recharge your battery, as I just mentioned, improve mental focus, have better sleep, increase creativity, renewed sense of clarity, disconnecting from devices and technology, restore your spiritual well-being, and minimize distractions. These are all super important as a modern day human. So I hope you take this to heart, and I'll see you on the next retreat that I hold. Thank you.